Welcome on in, guys. Three bold takes, and we are back with Bowl Mania this year. We do this every single year. Link is in the description to join. Winner will receive a free Champions Three Bold Takes t-shirt courtesy of the guys over here at Three Bold Takes. But before we get into it, we are sponsored by SeatGeek, so use our discount code 3BoldTakes at checkout to get $20 off your first purchase. We are looking to go to a couple of bowl games. We will definitely be using SeatGeeks. You guys should too. It'll show you what's a good deal, what's a bad deal, and should save you a little bit of money off the top. Guys, welcome on into the preview and prediction for the playoff semifinal at the Cotton Bowl between Ohio State and Texas. Now, if you're following along Capital One Bowl Mania, you may or may not have noticed that 82% of America picked Ohio State to win. They're also favored by 6 points. Am I double checking that? Yes, 6 points is the current odds. But ESPN, here we go again with these deadgum analytics. 50% chance for Texas to win to 49.5 for Ohio State. Chase, I want to sling it over to you first. What are your thoughts about the Cotton Bowl?
Yeah, I think the 50.5 has to come from this is basically a Texas home game. This should be an almost entire orange game, orange and white, which will be really fun, which will make it even tougher for Ohio State. I believe it. But if you've watched any of Ohio State, these playoffs, my goodness, they're not toying around. It has seemed like they found a gear that had a gear and then just pressed it. They have been into it the full time in the playoffs because I came into the playoffs thinking like, yeah, I think Tennessee could beat Ohio State. The way Ohio State played against Michigan, messed up against Oregon early in their season, and then kind of played around with other teams. I was like, yeah, no, Tennessee could easily get through. They got dominated. Oregon, it was 41-21, but man, wasn't it like 38-0 to jump out to for Ohio State? It was quick and it was nasty. So it looks a lot better than it was, but Ohio State absolutely dominated. Dan Lanning, Dylan Gabriel, the whole nine. And we finally put to rest that Oregon was the worst number one seed that we've had in a very long time in any sort of playoff. And then on the opposite side, Texas had the opportunity to do the same thing Ohio State did and squandered it the full way. Allowed Arizona State to get back in that game. You had Cam Scadaboo, who was throwing up, probably people were speculating from a concussion on the sideline, and let him come back and score two more touchdowns after that. Texas, you could have put that game away handedly all the way through, and you didn't. I'm excited to see what happens in this game. I think it's going to be a high-flying game. Probably the best remaining offense in the playoffs against the best offense and defensive duo in the playoffs in Ohio State. I think Texas, when they want to, they could put up 50, 60. Their defense could also allow the other team to put up 50, 60, but I think Texas's offense could do well. I think Ohio State has another dominant performance. I can't get past it. If Oregon would have played in that game a little better, made it like a 42-35, I don't know, but there's just nothing that has said, man, Ohio State can lose. I don't know what y'all think about it, but defensive side of the ball, special teams, offense, coaching even. That's another big thing. I thought Ryan Day, I thought Chip Kelly, I thought they were going to be okay, but I thought they were going to get out coached. Absolutely dominating every facet of football on and off the field, in the booth, out of the booth, giving out water, concession stands. It doesn't matter. Ohio State is all over it. I'm going Buckeyes in this one, no matter where this game is located.
Yeah, I'll start with this. These are the two best rosters money can buy. So I am very excited to watch that aspect of this game. And then Chase, as far as the slander against Oregon, real quick, this is not the worst number one seed we've ever seen. I would give that honor to 2017 Clemson. They were trash. Kelly Bryant was not a good quarterback. That team could not move the ball offensively. That being said, that's, neither here nor there. The home field advantage will make it interesting. I think it could give Texas the chance to make this game close. But this Ohio State team feels so unbeatable. I have not felt this way about a team since the 2020 Alabama team. And really, like, they feel very similar to 2020 Bama, 2019 LSU in this sense where, like, they have now found that extra gear And I just don't think you can beat them because the biggest issue for Ohio State, right, was never their defense. Their defense has been elite all season long
Yeah.
and will continue to be elite through the rest of this playoff. They're going to find ways to give issues to Texas. They'll find ways to give issues to Notre Dame or Penn State. But the offense has finally started clicking. And I want to point out, like, Tennessee was not a joke of a defense, and they just obliterated them. Like, obliterated them. And then they brought their A game to Oregon as well. Like, irregardless of who wins this game, they're going to win the national title. They're both more talented than the other side of this. And that's a whole seeding issue with this whole tournament. But I can't pick against Ohio State. It's the same thing you just said, Chase. They've been so dominant since this playoff started. They were my first, and I know, don't hold to your preseason predictions. They were my preseason national champion. They've played great all year. I only reluctantly started to back away from them a little bit when they lost the Michigan game. Now they've shown me with this back-to-back performance against Tennessee and Oregon, they've had the hardest path out of every single team who is currently still in this. They have by far had the hardest path, and they've won both of their games by the biggest margins. It's insane. Like, you compare who they've had to play versus everyone else. Notre Dame drew Indiana and Georgia. That's not terrible, but it's not Tennessee and Oregon. All right. Or like Oregon was good this year. Like, and they made them look so bad. They made them look so bad. Penn State drew what? Boise and SMU, and Texas drew Clemson and Arizona State. None of them drew what Ohio State had to deal with. They played number 7 Tennessee and number 1 Oregon, and they blew them both out. Like, yeah, I think this is going to continue. I do think the crowd will play some factor in Texas's favor, but I can't pick against Ohio State. Ohio State's winning this thing. They're going to the national title, and I think Ryan Day's about to save his entire career.
Chase, I agree with you. I think Oregon was the worst number 1 seed. Personally, I really do. Okay, maybe not the worst. Definitely the most underwhelming. Right, like an under talked about number 1 seed. Like, even going into this thing, nobody really picked them to win the national title. Vegas had them 4th or 5th on the list going into it. Like, as an undefeated number 1 seed, that doesn't normally happen. So, little difference there. But I agree with you, Chase. Now, when it comes to this game, Ohio State's going to win. I've said it for the past probably 5 weeks that we've talked about Texas. I don't see what Vegas, what America, what the analyst, I don't see what they see in Texas. Like, going into the quarterfinals, Texas had the best odds to win the national title. No. Like, I didn't get it then. I don't get it now. I didn't get it 4 weeks ago when they got beat by Georgia in the SEC championship game. Like, I don't understand. Their offense is so dysfunctional to me. Like, yes, Quinn Ewers is good, but they're waiting for him to get out of town. Like, they're begging him to leave after this. And I think the play calling is suffering from that. I think his confidence has suffered from that because they're ready for Arch Manning. His weapons on the outside just aren't really producing like they should. And listen, their running back situation, like, they've done a lot better this year than what we thought they would coming into the year when they lost their top 3 running backs. But at the end of the day, these games is when that stuff starts to matter more, especially when you play a team like Ohio State. And I just don't think Texas is it, man. I don't. And I think America's got the smart decision in choosing Ohio State. I think Vegas is smart. Obviously, they make a ton of money. It's why Ohio State's favored by 6. Texas just doesn't match up well with them. I genuinely don't think so. If Ohio State plays the way they have the past 2 games, this will be a 25-plus point blowout to me. Now, I say that, but we've also seen Ohio State play like they did against Michigan. Don't let recency bias creep in here. For those of you that do partake in betting, don't let recency bias fall in. Don't fall into that trap. here in this game in Texas at the Cotton Bowl, where Texas has already played this year. They play there every year. So a little bit of caution, but Ohio State wins it.
Well,
Single
and,
digit.
and let me add, I've actually seen that as well. What you're saying, Freddie, about Quinn Ewers. You also heard the speculation about some team offering him $6 million to go into the transfer portal, not the draft. And I think it's been the more you see Arch Manning getting into the game, they have certain schemes for him to come in, certain offensive sets, and you just see the budding. No matter what, Quinn Ewers is not in a Texas uniform next year, regardless if that's a draft or if he hits the transfer portal. But I see it too, and I think that could wane on him here. I don't think they're as clear focused as they should be.
I'll say this: he needs to not be in a Texas uniform next year. It's like I said to you guys when we were like in our little group text back and forth when we were watching the Texas Arizona State game in the Peach Bowl. You never know from drive to drive if you're going to get the Quinn Ewers that's going to throw an absolute dime in the corner of the end zone in double coverage, or the Quinn Ewers that's going to underthrow a deep shot for no reason in the middle of the field, allowing a team to get the ball back with a chance to go tie the game. You don't know what Quinn Ewers you're going to get from drive to drive. He can look amazing or he can look absolutely terrible. And you never know.
Yeah, and I don't think that has anything to do with what Sark is doing on offense. I think he does a wonderful job, because if you watch that first drive from Texas on offense against Arizona State, I thought the game was going to be 56-0. 2 plays, absolutely Swiss cheese, moving the ball downfield. Holy mac. And then all of a sudden it's 17-7, 17-4. You're just letting this team back into it. So that's what Texas just plays with their food way too much, and it's time for their mother to say no.
And it's insane to me that a team like Texas that has the opportunity that they have is caught up in this speculation of, oh, the starting quarterback shouldn't be the starting quarterback. Like, that's insane to me. Now, I know Arch Manning's great, but think about that, dude. Think about all these other teams in the country that would kill to be in Texas's shoes, and all they're thinking about is, when is this guy getting out of town? Like, what are we doing nowadays? Like, I don't get that, but that's besides the point. All three of us are going to Ohio State here in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl, and have Ohio State playing for a national title and potentially saving Ryan Day's job. Guys, thanks for watching and watching this preview and prediction. We've done every single bowl game. Go catch up if you haven't. I know the games have already been played, but it's still some good content. So appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.